The sun was setting, painting the sky with hues of orange and gold. I sat on a quiet bench in the park, sipping tea, feeling a deep sense of calm. The air was cool, carrying with it the scent of fresh grass and earth after a long, warm day. Birds were settling into their nests, their soft chirping blending harmoniously with the distant sound of leaves rustling in the breeze. For a moment, everything felt perfect. Then, my phone buzzed. I glanced down. A long message popped up. Angry words, accusations, frustration spilling onto the screen like ink seeping into paper, staining what had been a peaceful evening. It was from an old acquaintance, someone I hadn't spoken to in months. As I read the message, my chest tightened. The words were sharp, cutting deep, as if they were designed to provoke a reaction. Instinctively, I felt the urge to respond. My mind raced, formulating the perfect defense, crafting the right words to justify, to correct, to prove my point. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to type something back. I could feel the tension rising, the fight or flight response kicking in. But then, I paused. What if I didn't have to react? What if I could simply let it be? In that moment, I took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. The colors had softened into shades of violet and indigo, the first stars beginning to emerge. The world had not changed. The air was still cool. The tea in my hands was still warm. The only thing that had shifted was my mind, dragged away from peace and pulled into someone else's storm. Then, I remembered a lesson I had learned long ago. You don't have to accept every invitation to conflict. A monk once said, if someone hands you a gift and you refuse it, to whom does it belong? This realization changed everything for me. I put my phone down. I let the words exist without absorbing them, without letting them take root in my heart. And in that instant, I reclaimed my peace. How often do we allow other people's negativity to control us? How often do we let someone's anger become our own? Today, I want to share with you a different way. A way that doesn't involve fighting back. A way that doesn't involve shutting down. Instead, I want to show you how Buddhist wisdom can help us transform negativity into something that no longer has power over us. Not through force, not through avoidance, but through understanding. Because true strength is not in how loudly we respond, but in how deeply we remain at peace. Understanding negativity, it's not about you. One of the greatest illusions we live with is the belief that other people's words and actions are personal. If someone insults us, criticizes us, or speaks with anger, we assume it is directed at us. We feel attacked, wounded, or even betrayed. But have you ever stopped to wonder, is this really about me? In truth, negativity rarely has anything to do with us. Think about the last time someone snapped at you. Maybe it was a colleague at work, a stranger on the street, or even a close friend. Their words were sharp, their tone filled with irritation. It felt personal, didn't it? But take a step back. What was really happening in their world? Were they having a stressful day? Were they carrying unresolved pain? In Buddhism, suffering is said to arise from three sources: attachment, ignorance, and craving. A person who lashes out in anger or spreads negativity is often acting from a place of deep inner struggle. Their mind may be filled with jealousy, insecurity, or fear, and instead of processing those emotions, they project them onto others. Imagine a person who is drowning. In their panic, they thrash around, grabbing at anything to keep themselves afloat, even if it means pulling others down with them. Negativity works the same way. When people are suffering, they often don't know how to handle their emotions, so they release them outward. But here's the truth: just because someone throws negativity at you doesn't mean you have to catch it. Let me tell you a story. One afternoon, a man came to see the Buddha. He was furious, shouting insults, trying to provoke a reaction. But the Buddha simply sat there, calm and unmoved. After a while, the man, exhausted, asked, "Why do you not respond to my anger?" The Buddha smiled and said, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse it, to whom does it belong?" The man replied, "To the giver, of course." Then, the Buddha said, "I do not accept your anger. It remains with you." This is the essence of dealing with negativity. It only affects us if we accept it. So the next time someone directs negativity toward you, remind yourself, this is their suffering, not mine. Negativity is like waves in the ocean. They rise, crash, and eventually dissolve. If you learn to see them for what they are, temporary, fleeting, not a reflection of you, you won't take them personally. Instead, you will observe them, like a mountain watching the storm, without being swept away. Does this mean we should tolerate mistreatment? Not at all. There is a difference between ignoring negativity and allowing it to control you. You can set boundaries, you can walk away, you can choose not to engage. But what you don't have to do is absorb it, replay it in your mind, or let it poison your peace. There was a time in my life when I struggled deeply with this. A friend, someone I trusted, had spoken badly about me behind my back. When I found out, my first instinct was to confront them, to ask why, to defend myself, but then, I stopped. I asked myself, what will I gain by reacting? Would it change their actions? Would it undo their words? Or would it only add fuel to the fire? So instead of reacting, I let it go, not for them, but for me. I reminded myself, their words are a reflection of their own struggles, not of my worth. And just like that, the storm passed. I remained unmoved. You see, the greatest power we have is the ability to choose our response. And sometimes, the best response is no response at all. The story of two monks. Why are you still carrying it? A long time ago, two monks were traveling together, walking along a dusty path that stretched endlessly before them. Their robes were heavy with the weight of the journey, and the midday sun beat down upon their backs. They walked in silence, each step a meditation, each breath a practice of mindfulness. After several hours, they reached a riverbank where the current ran swift and strong. There, standing helplessly at the edge of the water, was a woman. She was dressed in fine silk, her delicate hands clutching the folds of her robes as she hesitated, unsure of how to cross. She turned to the monks, her eyes filled with worry. "Please," she pleaded, "I need to get across, but the river is too deep, and I cannot make it alone." Without hesitation, the older monk stepped forward, lifted the woman onto his back, and carried her across. He stepped carefully, steady against the rushing water, his movements effortless, unbothered by the weight of his task. When they reached the other side, he gently set her down. She bowed in gratitude and went on her way. The two monks continued walking. But as the path stretched on, the younger monk grew restless. His mind, once quiet, now churned with thoughts. His brows furrowed, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. Hours passed in silence, but his frustration only deepened. Finally, unable to contain himself, he turned to the older monk and blurted out, "Why did you carry that woman? We monks are not supposed to touch women." The older monk smiled gently, his face calm as still water. He glanced at his younger companion and replied, "I put her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" The younger monk stopped in his tracks. His breath caught in his throat. In an instant, he understood. How often do we do this in our own lives? Someone insults us in the morning, and we carry their words into the night. A disagreement happens last week, and yet we still replay it in our minds, reliving it over and over. An old wound, a past mistake, a moment of anger. Like the younger monk, we hold on to these burdens long after they should have been set down. But who is suffering? Not the person who insulted us, not the past event that has already come and gone. The only person carrying the weight is us. We cling to these moments as if they define us, as if replaying them in our minds will somehow change what has already happened. But in truth, holding on to negativity only creates more suffering. It keeps the wound fresh, never allowing it to heal. Letting go doesn't mean approving of bad behavior. It doesn't mean pretending that hurtful words don't sting or that betrayals don't leave scars. It simply means refusing to let someone else's negativity live inside you. Imagine your mind as a flowing river. Thoughts, emotions, and experiences come and go, like leaves drifting on the water's surface. If you try to grasp them, to hold on to them, they become trapped, forming stagnant pools. But if you let them pass, the river continues to flow, clear, fresh, and full of life. So the next time someone speaks to you with anger or judgment, ask yourself, will I carry this, or will I let it pass? Because peace is not found in clinging to what has already passed. It is found in the quiet strength of knowing when to let go. Transforming negativity with compassion. Our natural instinct, when faced with negativity, is to resist, to fight back, to defend ourselves, to prove that we are right. It is an almost automatic reaction, wired deep within us, to protect our sense of self. If someone speaks harshly to us, we feel the sting of their words, and before we know it, we respond with the same energy. But have you ever noticed what happens when we do this? Negativity grows. Conflict escalates. Our peace is lost. Buddhism teaches a different approach, one that seems counterintuitive at first but is deeply powerful: compassion. There is a practice in Buddhism called metta, or loving kindness meditation. It is the practice of sending goodwill, not only to those we love, but also to those who challenge us. It is an invitation to step beyond our immediate emotional reactions and transform the way we engage with negativity. I remember the first time I was introduced to this practice. It sounded simple. 1. Close your eyes. 2. Take a deep breath. 3. Silently repeat. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. May you find peace. At first, I thought, why should I send kindness to someone who has hurt me? It felt unnatural, my mind resisted, but the more I practiced, the more I realized a profound truth: holding on to resentment only poisons my own heart. A personal test of compassion. I once had a colleague who constantly undermined me. No matter how hard I worked, they always found something negative to say. Their words were sharp, their tone dismissive, their attitude condescending. At first, I tried to ignore it, but over time, it wore me down. I started replaying their comments in my head. I let their judgment define my emotions. I carried their negativity long after they had spoken. One evening, feeling drained, I sat in meditation. My mind was filled with frustration, and my heart felt heavy. Then I remembered metta. I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. And though it felt unnatural, I silently wished them peace. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. May you find peace. At first, my words felt hollow, but I kept repeating them, again and again. Something remarkable happened. Their power over me began to fade. Over the next few weeks, I continued the practice. Every time I thought of them, I wished them peace. Slowly, I noticed a shift, not in them, but in me. Their words no longer triggered me. Their negativity became like distant thunder, there, but no longer touching me. I began to see them not as an enemy, but as someone suffering in their own way. I no longer saw their words as personal attacks, but as reflections of their own struggles. And in that shift, I found freedom. The true strength of compassion. Compassion does not mean allowing others to mistreat us. It does not mean being passive in the face of harm. Instead, it means refusing to let others dictate our inner peace. When we hold on to anger, we are the ones who suffer. When we seek revenge, we are the ones consumed. But when we choose compassion, we break free. There is a famous story about the Buddha and a man who insulted him. The man stood before the Buddha, shouting words filled with hatred and anger, expecting a reaction. But the Buddha simply listened in silence. When the man had exhausted himself, the Buddha asked, "If someone offers you a gift, but you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "To the giver, of course." The Buddha smiled and said, "Then I do not accept your anger, it remains with you." This is the essence of transforming negativity with compassion. We do not have to accept the anger, the bitterness, the resentment of others. We can meet it with kindness, with wisdom, and with a deep knowing that their suffering is not ours to carry. A challenge for you. The next time someone speaks to you with negativity, take a pause. Instead of reacting, try this. Take a deep breath. Recognize that their words are a reflection of their inner world, not yours. If it feels right, silently wish them peace. May you be happy, may you be free from suffering, may you find peace. It won't always be easy. Some days, you may resist, some moments, anger may feel more justified than kindness. But if you commit to the practice, something beautiful happens. Negativity loses its grip on you. Because true strength is not in fighting negativity, true strength is in rising above it. The power of silence. Not every bark needs a bark back. It was a crowded marketplace, the kind filled with the chatter of merchants, the clinking of coins, and the scent of fresh spices drifting through the air. People bustled from stall to stall, haggling over prices, exchanging goods, lost in the rhythm of daily life. Amidst the crowd, a monk walked calmly, his steps slow and deliberate, his presence like a river flowing through the chaos. Then, from the side of the road, a man spotted him, his face twisted with anger. Without warning, he began shouting, hurling insults at the monk, his voice cutting through the noise of the market. His words were sharp, filled with resentment, an open invitation for conflict. The crowd turned to watch, expecting a reaction. But the monk did nothing. He simply smiled and walked away. Later, as they left the marketplace, a disciple who had witnessed the scene turned to the monk and asked, "Master, why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you defend yourself?" The monk smiled again and replied, "If a dog barks at you, do you bark back?" The disciple was silent, absorbing the lesson in those simple words. This story holds a deep truth. Engaging with negativity only gives it more power. The illusion of reaction. Have you ever noticed how arguments escalate? Someone throws an insult, and we immediately feel the need to respond. Our minds race, searching for the perfect comeback, the sharpest retort. We convince ourselves that if we don't say something, we are weak, that silence means defeat. But does it? Imagine throwing a log onto a fire. The flames grow stronger, hotter, consuming everything in their path. Now imagine choosing not to add fuel. Without more wood, the fire flickers, weakens, and eventually dies. Negativity works the same way. If someone insults you and you respond with anger, you feed their energy, you give them something to fight against. But if you remain calm, their negativity has nowhere to land. Silence, in this way, is not weakness, it is wisdom. The strength in walking away. I once knew a man who prided himself on always having the last word. He believed that if someone insulted him, he had to prove them wrong. He would debate, argue, defend himself endlessly. But something interesting happened. He was always exhausted. It wasn't the insults that drained him, it was the energy he spent reacting to them. One day, after a heated argument, I asked him, "What did you win?" He paused, thinking, then he laughed and said, "Nothing, I guess, just more frustration." That was when he realized, winning an argument doesn't always mean winning peace. Some battles are not worth fighting. Some words are not worth responding to. And some people thrive on conflict. When you refuse to engage, you take away the power over you. A challenge for you. The next time someone tries to provoke you, pause. Take a deep breath. Feel the space between their words and your reaction. Ask yourself, do I need to respond, or can I let this pass? If a response is truly necessary, choose your words with wisdom, but remember, sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. Because true strength is not found in how loudly you defend yourself. It is found in how deeply you remain at peace. Becoming a mountain, unshaken by the storm. The world is in constant motion, like a river that never stops flowing. People's opinions, emotions, and reactions shift from moment to moment. One day, someone may praise you, the next, they may criticize you. One moment, they admire you, the next, they turn their back on you. If your happiness depends on the approval of others, you will always be at their mercy, tossed around like a leaf in the wind, never finding solid ground. But Buddhism teaches a different way: equanimity, a state of deep, unshakable peace. Imagine standing at the peak of a great mountain. The winds howl, storms rage, rain pours down, but the mountain remains still, unmoved. It does not tremble before the storm. It does not resist the wind. It simply is. This is the essence of equanimity. There is a well-known story of a man who once confronted the Buddha. Filled with anger, he insulted him, hoping to provoke a reaction. He hurled harsh words, expecting the Buddha to respond in defense. But the Buddha remained calm, his expression serene. Finally, the man asked, "Why do you not respond?" The Buddha simply smiled and said, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse it, to whom does it belong?" The man replied, "To the giver." The Buddha nodded, "Then I do not accept your anger. It remains with you." This simple yet profound response reveals a powerful truth: negativity only affects us if we accept it. Anchoring yourself in inner stillness. How often do we let the moods and words of others dictate our peace? A single criticism can linger in our minds for days. A harsh comment can ruin our mood in an instant. We absorb negativity as if we have no choice, as if we must carry the burdens that others throw at us. But the reality is, we always have a choice. If someone insults you, you don't have to take their words to heart. If someone disapproves of you, it doesn't mean you are less worthy. If someone projects their negativity onto you, it does not belong to you unless you choose to accept it. Like the mountain, you can remain grounded, steady, and unshaken, no matter what storms pass through your life. How to cultivate inner stillness. When faced with criticism or negativity, try this simple practice. 1. Pause and breathe. Instead of reacting instantly, take a deep breath. Feel the air entering and leaving your body. This small act creates space between stimulus and response. 2. Observe without attachment. Imagine the negative words as clouds drifting across the sky. They come and go, but they do not define the sky itself. You are the sky, vast and unchanging. 3. Ask yourself, do I need to accept this? If someone handed you a box filled with anger and resentment, would you willingly take it, or would you simply walk away? 4. Remain centered in your own truth. The opinions of others are like passing weather. They do not change who you truly are. When you anchor yourself in self-awareness, no external storm can shake your foundation. A personal reflection. I once struggled deeply with this lesson. A friend of mine, someone I had trusted, began speaking negatively about me behind my back. When I found out, I felt betrayed, hurt, and angry. My first instinct was to confront them, to demand an explanation, to defend myself. But then I paused. I remembered the story of the Buddha and the angry man. I asked myself, if I react with anger, Will it bring me peace, or will it only fuel the storm? So instead of fighting back, I chose stillness. I let go of the need for validation, the need to correct their perception. I reminded myself that their words were a reflection of them, not of me. And something incredible happened. The situation lost its power over me. The betrayal, the anger, the resentment, all of it faded, like mist disappearing in the morning sun. That day, I understood what it truly meant to be like the mountain. Final thoughts. Equanimity is not about ignoring emotions. It is not about pretending that words don't sting or that criticism doesn't hurt. It is about choosing what you allow to take root in your heart. So the next time negativity comes your way, ask yourself, will I let this shake me, or will I stand like the mountain, calm, steady, and unshaken? Because true strength is not found in resisting the storm. It is found in knowing that the storm will pass, and you will remain standing. The true test of inner peace. Each time you encounter negativity, see it as a test. Not a test of intelligence, not a test of strength, but a test of your inner peace. Ask yourself, will I react, or will I observe? Will I hold on to this, or will I let it pass? Will I engage in conflict, or will I choose peace? Because in the end, that is what every difficult encounter truly is, an opportunity to practice who you want to be. There was a time in my life when I believed peace meant avoiding conflict altogether. I thought if I stayed away from difficult people, if I removed myself from situations that could upset me, then I would be at peace. But life has a way of teaching us deeper lessons. No matter how much you try to escape negativity, it will find you. You may meet it in the words of a stranger, in the actions of a loved one, or in the unkind judgments of society. The true test is not whether you can avoid negativity. The true test is whether you can face it, and remain unshaken. The choice is always yours. There is an old Zen saying, you cannot stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. Negativity will always exist. The question is, will you let it pull you under, or will you rise above it? A person who is truly at peace does not need the world around them to be peaceful. They do not need perfect circumstances. They do not need constant praise or approval. They simply remain centered, like a mountain standing firm as the winds howl around it. And how do we get there? Through non-attachment, compassion, and mindfulness. Non-attachment, letting go of what does not serve you. Negativity only has power if you hold on to it. If someone hands you a burning coal, you have two choices. You can grip it tightly and suffer the pain, or you can let it go. When someone criticizes you, insults you, or tries to provoke you, recognize that their words are their burden, not yours. You don't have to carry it. You don't have to hold on to it. Let it go. Compassion, seeing the pain beneath the anger. People who spread negativity are often suffering in ways we cannot see. They are carrying their own wounds, their own fears, their own struggles. And when we understand this, something changes. We stop taking things so personally. Instead of reacting with anger, we can respond with understanding. Instead of absorbing their energy, we can wish them peace, because the more peace we wish for others, the more peace we cultivate within ourselves. Mindfulness, choosing how you respond. Imagine a flame in a room with no oxygen. It dies out on its own. Negativity works the same way. If you refuse to feed it, if you do not react, do not engage, do not give it power, it simply burns out. With mindfulness, we learn to pause, to breathe, to recognize that not every comment deserves a response. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every opinion matters. And one day, you will realize something profound. No insult, no harsh word, no external negativity can break your peace. Because true peace is not about avoiding the storm, it's about becoming the mountain that stands through it. A final reflection. As you move forward in life, remember this. The next time someone criticizes you, take a deep breath. Do not take it personally. The next time someone tries to provoke you, ask yourself, is this worth my peace? The next time you feel negativity creeping in, choose stillness over reaction, wisdom over impulse, peace over conflict. True power is not in proving yourself to others. True power is in remaining unshaken, no matter what comes your way. If this message resonated with you, subscribe for more Buddhist wisdom, and share in the comments, how do you deal with negativity in your life? And remember, may you always carry peace in your heart.